Welcome to today's video where we're going to talk about doing manufacturer repairs. So this is my first time actually doing these kind of repairs, but it's been a pretty interesting experience doing it. So I figured it was worth doing some content on, giving my limited insight onto it. So that's what the topic of today's video is doing manufacturer repairs. I'm not going to mention the manufacturer that I'm doing the repairs on. I'm going to kind of semi-hide what the product is that I'm working on because I don't have permission from them to disclose this stuff. And, I don't want to lose this work that I'm doing for them. Now, what I am doing is I'm doing a post-production correction to it. So it's not like it's a repair of a fault of a broken piece of equipment that went out to a customer. It left production. It's made it here to the United States to be sold, and then they discovered there was a production issue with them and told the distributor to get them fixed, and basically gave the distributor an incentive to get them fixed. And so here I am doing the repair for the distributor. It's really interesting doing these repairs. What I really like about this repair is, first, I know exactly how much money I'm going to make. I know exactly how many of them I'm going to do, and I get a guide of exactly how to do the repair. So there's no diagnostic in it. This is basically assembly work here. It's very simple, straightforward to do. I'd actually kind of like to do some more of this kind of work in the future. I don't want it to become my primary means of work though, because it is pretty tedious and I do enjoy the diagnostic process. But I want to buy some new equipment for my business doing this kind of stuff. So this is a great way to inject some cash flow into here, is taking on this kind of work. Kind of boring, kind of tedious, doesn't pay the best in the world. Just to be upfront about it, what I'm making is I'm making $10 on each repair. And each repair takes me about 10 minutes to do. I could probably squeeze it down a little bit faster if I kind of cut corners, but I'm not going to cut corners. I'm just going to, do it how it says to do it. And that takes me 10 minutes to do. So, making okay money. All of the components are provided by the manufacturer, so I'm not buying or sourcing components. They're all provided for doing the repair. But what I like is, I'm not going to show it, but they give you a manual on how to do the repair, and the manual is pretty good. So I'm looking down at it right now, flipping through it. So it tells you kind of the tools that you need, tells you the temperatures and tips that you should be using with the tool. So obviously the tips, they're just using as examples of what different ones look like to tell you which ones to use. Basically, it's saying don't use a conical tip, use a wedge or a knife tip to do the repair. I don't think a knife tip's really the best one for the job, but if you were not, if you're not very skilled at soldering, a knife tip actually would make this pretty easy. It shows you exactly how to disassemble the product, shows you exactly where each plug goes. It doesn't give you like technical specs of what's on the plug and what it does, but you don't need that for doing the repair. It just goes, okay, this plug goes here, this one goes there. It gives you the order to just, to unplug them, basically unplug the battery first and then everything else. And then shows you exactly how to do it. So you take this motor out. This is what's being done, is you're repairing this motor here, and you set it on a roll of tape so that way you don't damage the fan on it, which is actually a pretty smart thing. I wouldn't have thought of doing it that way. I'd have been doing it in the housing still, because the housing holds it apart, but you actually have more mobility to work on it like this, so this is a better way of doing it. Then it shows you what you're doing. So you scrape the solder mask down here to add this capacitor that you're going to do. And then has some pictures and examples of what a good solder joint looks like and what it doesn't, for for a non-technical person to be able to do the repair. Gives you the polarity of everything. It says that cleaning off your flux is optional. I don't agree with that. That's not optional. You need to do that. It shows you how to diagnose and verify that you put it on correctly using a multimeter to just make sure that you have continuity. And then it has the reassembly procedures. And then just gives you the test procedure too of how to test it. So it's really useful. It makes the repair very simple. I mean, I don't have to think at all. I can literally just, knock these out as fast as I can and maximize my profits off of it, instead of trying to, try to do the, I could have probably negotiated a little more money out of it because I am subcontracting to the subcontractor on this. So there's a different middleman in between me and the distributor on this. So I know I'm getting a cut of his cut. So I probably could have negotiated a little bit more money out of it. But yeah, I think it's a pretty easy to do repair, and I think it's definitely worth it because there's a few hundred of these for me to do. So I'm going to make a couple of $1,000 doing this, and it's going to take me a couple of days to do. So yeah, I can generally get 4 or 5 of these done an hour, because I can't sit there the whole time and just keep knocking them out. They take like a maximum of 10 minutes to do, but I have to take a break in between every couple of them just because gotta give myself a break, gotta move around and stuff. So generally four or five of them an hour is what I'm getting done, and there's a couple hundred of them. So it's some steady work to keep me busy for a little while, and it's gonna be nice to be able to have that steady cash flow come in. I'd really like to do more manufacturer repairs for other manufacturers too, and actually be the go direct with them and not be a subcontractor to the subcontractor, just go direct and be no middleman on it. Would definitely be my preferred way of doing them in the future. But for now, this one's good. I like it. So we'll actually take a look at how the repair goes on these, do just this one. I'm only going to show the motor portion of it because you can't tell what the product is from there. Doing the rest of the reassembly, you would know exactly what this product is. So it's definitely not the manufacturer's fault on this too. It has a different company's name on this circuit board, so they bought this assembly as a full assembly from somebody else. Very obvious that's what happened here, is that they bought these motor assemblies from a different company, put them in their product, and then found out that this capacitor right here is out of spec. So let me switch the camera around so we can actually get a better look at this and see what we're looking at here. Okay, so as I said, we're going to be putting a new capacitor on here. So let me grab one. They provided the capacitors, so don't judge the choice here. I didn't choose them. There's some JCon capacitors. They come out of Taiwan, so I guess it is a semi-reputable brand capacitor out of Taiwan. It's not a Rubicon or anything, but whatever. So you get the capacitor, kind of bend the legs up a little bit so that way it's off the PCB is how they want it on there, and then put your little solder blobs down to get it onto. And then negative is going to go this way. And positive is on that diode there. Okay, well that's all there is to putting the capacitor on. So now we have the capacitor on, and then for what we're doing here is ground is this one on this capacitor. So we have continuity there, and then positive, which I'm just going to go from the positive here. It's the same one. Goes to there. So obviously what the problem is that this capacitor is out of spec in not doing it. This one is the same thing. It's 47 UF 50 volts. So it's not exactly the same capacitor, but in the instructions there are, it does show, there's a couple of different brand ones. They show the branding on there, and if it has those brands on there, you don't have to replace it. But if it doesn't have the brand, so if it's one like this, they need to add this. My first thought was, well, why wouldn't you just replace the capacitor with a new surface mount one and not have to do this? But the fan impeller is pressed onto this motor assembly, so you wouldn't be able to take it off and then use like a hot air to work with it. Plus you have this connector next to it, so you'd have to use like hot tweezers or 2 soldering irons or something like that. That'd be much more difficult for them to get a technician that's capable of doing that. I mean, I'm perfectly capable of doing that. They could have done it that way here, but I understand them not wanting to switch it between different technicians doing them differently. That way it's just nice and standardized. So this is definitely the easy way out, is doing that. So let's go ahead and just clean off this flux here. And yeah, I had already scraped the solder mask before starting the video, just to make brevity in the video and make it easier to do. So yeah, just clean off the flux and we're done. It does have conformal coating on most of this board, but they did not do any conformal coating on any of the other boards. It does not say in the instructions to put new conformal coating on. So I think that is just this manufacturer that made these boards used conformal coating, but they didn't, the product itself doesn't actually need it. So that's, then this little guy just clips right back on there. And then there's 4 screws that hold it into the product, and then these screws hold the product together. So yeah, it's a really quick and easy repair. It takes no time at all to do it. And like I said, this is exactly how they want it mounted on the board. They don't want it touching the board. It stated in the instructions because of vibration. So I mean, that's how they wanted it done, so it's going to be done that way. But yeah, it's a really simple repair. It doesn't take long at all to do. Like I said, it takes me 10 minutes to do each one, and that's it. Like, it doesn't take me 10 minutes to just do this. That's disassembly, doing this, reassembly, and testing it takes about 10 minutes to do, no longer. So yeah, I enjoy this kind of work, and I think it's definitely, as a technician, instead of just doing GM instrument clusters, if that's who you are watching the channel, if you're just one of the guys that just does instrument clusters, try to branch out and do more stuff, diversify where you're making your money. That's kind of the point of this video, is just, talking about diversifying. I know this particular job most people would turn down, and I actually kind of drug my feet on doing it. They had somebody else doing them at first, and they asked if I was interested, and I was like, well, I mean, I can. I wasn't super excited, but I did want to get my foot in the door doing work for this guy. So when their other technician that was doing it couldn't do it anymore, that's why I said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll take it on, and was happy to take it on, because I really wanted to get my foot in the door to do more work with them. It wasn't so much that super happy with doing this particular repair. But like I said, it's not a bad gig, and if it was just 2 or 3 of these, I would not have been willing to do it at all. But since there's so many of them, it makes it worth the time and effort to do it. So, and like I said, there's no diagnostic, so it's not like I had to spend 2 or 3 hours figuring out how to do this. I mean, they gave me the first one. I flipped through the manual. It took me about 5 minutes just to flip through it, read it real quick. And like the very first one took me 15 minutes to do. And then after that, it's been 10 minutes each. So yeah, it's really not bad at all doing this kind of work. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you kind of inspired you to think about different ways you guys could be making some money, and diversifying what you're doing on your workbench. So yeah, I hope you guys liked it. I got a couple other videos in the works here. I have an oscilloscope that I repaired that I should be doing a video on it. And then I got another one to do on IPC hammer. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.